Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon joins me, and we are going to talk through our first quarter of the season League Pass rankings, the teams that we have enjoyed watching more than any other. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What is this going to be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy? Coach Bryce.
What's up, Sam? Hey, so yesterday my wife's putting the Christmas lights up and this lady stops by to deliver the food that her son had sold us. And she goes, "You really should get your husband out here helping you." And my wife tells her, "Well, my husband is actually inside doing the laundry," which that lady then responds, "Well, then Randy, you are winning in life." So my question to you, Sam, is, does the Vecenie household put Christmas lights up? If they do, who does it? And does Sam Vecenie ever do the laundry? That's multiple questions, plural questions.
Laura and I do our own laundry. Like,
Okay.
we don't we just have that like separated. Probably different when you have kids, I would
Yes,
imagine.
very different.
But yeah. We do not put up Christmas lights. I don't know, like there are certain pockets here in Melbourne where I feel like I've seen Christmas lights.
Okay.
But I don't know that I see them often, really. And then your third question was what?
If you did put up the Christmas lights, who would put them up? And so if you don't put them up, then there's really not a third question. I
Yeah.
guess.
Assuredly, it would. We'd probably split it in some respect. We really do like try, and Laura ends up doing a little bit more around the house probably because I'm a workaholic. But like, yeah, I feel like we do split like for the most part stuff. Like I just spent the morning cleaning up like all sorts of crazy like cat shit everywhere. Like not everywhere, but like had to do the litter, had to like, one of our, cats or the dog, whoever it was, like peed on a pee pad last night because our dog has the bladder of a, baby basically. So we have to make sure and handle that. So yeah, no, we do try to at least make it like fairly equal while acknowledging that Laura probably ends up doing more.
I feel like the chores in our house, I don't think we split chores. It's kind of Randy does all the cooking. She does all the grilling. She's actually a little handy around the house as well. She grew up on the farm. I do the dishes. I do the laundry. So it's we have a nice little thing we've got figured out. I just thought it was funny that the first thing this lady said was, "Your husband should be out here doing this." And then when Randy let her know that I was inside doing the laundry, she completely changed her tune into, "Oh, well, if that's the case, then Randy, you are winning in life."
Oh my God, that's wild. No, Laura and I spent the weekend watching Australia just absolutely get obliterated by India in cricket. So that was that was enjoyable. Let me tell you, it was like, so have I explained Test cricket to you yet, Bryce?
Oh no.
So Test cricket is a 5-day sporting event, basically, where it's like baseball, sort of, except when you get out, you're out for like the rest of the first round that you bat. Each team bats twice. And if you get out, you're out for the first inning, right? And then you bat again for a second inning. But these games take, like, India batted for 2 straight days, basically, in one inning. Their one guy had like 163, Yashasvi Jaiswal, who's like the next up and coming like great cricket player, and then Virat Kohli, who's like the LeBron of cricket, basically had another 100. And if you score 100, it's like this incredible achievement. Australia, by the way, scored 100 total in their first inning. And both of these guys
Scored 100 plus by themselves.
Yeah.
So the score was like 900 to 300.
So at the end of the first 2 innings, or the end of the first innings, it was 150 to like 103. India was up, and then India just dropped like a 487 and didn't even go through all of its outs, wickets they're called, but like didn't even go through all of its outs. They just declared, they were just like, no, we're good, it's all fine. We'll just let this kind of rock. And then Australia came to bat last night with like 30 minutes left and immediately got out 3 times.
Wait, so you play to a certain, you play
Played
certain
a time,
time.
basically.
Okay.
Yeah, like light. You start at like 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and then you play until somewhere between like 5:30 and 6:30, depending on where it is and, you know, timing and everything. Yeah.
Okay.
It's wild. It's like super strategic. It's, you know, super nerdy, like strategy stuff is why I like it. But yeah, it's an enjoyable time.
Real quick, TV shows wise, have you watched The Diplomat on Netflix?
Laura, so when Laura had COVID, she just went through the whole thing and really liked it. I have not watched it yet.
You should. So we watched the first season. We watched the first episode of season 2 a couple nights ago. So very much into it. You should check it out.
Yeah, we did the first 6 episodes of A Man on the Inside.
Okay.
Which is the Ted Danson show that just came out. It is very good. Okay. Very good. I had a great time watching it. Super, super fun show. Very funny and also very sad. Okay. Today we are doing NBA League Pass rankings for the first quarter of the NBA season to this point. You and I typically don't do a version of League Pass rankings in the preseason like everybody else does.
Yeah.
I kind of thought it would be a little bit more creative to do it after like the quarter mark of the season when we've actually seen these teams play and we've gotten a chance to, you know, just get through a lot of games now and understand who's going to play close games consistently, understand what teams play an exciting brand of basketball. Like, I don't know that I would have put Memphis in my top 10
same
of League Pass rankings in the preseason. I have Memphis extremely high on this ranking. I love watching Memphis because of their like weirdo offensive. It's not even weird. Like, I think it's just really creative and really smart that Isalo has brought from Paris. Like, I really enjoy their offense a lot. So I watch them a ton.
There's a team in my top 6 that I assume you won't have in your top 10, but I wouldn't have guessed. I enjoy watching them play, and I just do. And I wouldn't have had them in my top 10 to your point in the preseason. There's a couple other like that. There's a couple teams where I'm like, they're not good, but sometimes you want to watch them just because it's like, what the heck is going to happen tonight? Who's going to score all the points, stuff like that. So I think this will be a lot of fun. And I'm with you that now that we've actually got to see how these teams are going to look, it changes things a little bit. And I think we have a little bit more rationale for why we have them ranked the way we do.
Yeah. So the way that I thought about it early in the season. So I'll just give you an example. I have the Clippers at 10.
Oh shit. That was the team I was just talking about that I actually have on my list. I didn't think you would.
Here's the reason. Like, A, they play a ton of close games, and B, by the way, and this is something that would change if we do this like at the 2/3 mark of the season or whatever, but the Clippers have played the second toughest schedule in the league. Like, they have played good teams. It seems like every single game almost. Like, they've gone Suns, Nuggets, Warriors, then they had the Blazers for a respite, and then they had Suns, Thunder, Spurs, and then they had the Sixers for a respite, and then they had like Kings, Thunder, Rockets twice, and then, you know, recently they've had Warriors, Magic, Kings. Like, they've played a ton of really fun teams, and because of their style, like, they do tend to try and grind teams down a little bit while relying on, you know, Harden and Powell to really try and create the offensive load in the way that they can. They play a ton of close games, and it's just really fun basketball to me. So we'll talk about them maybe a little bit more in depth in a minute, but like, I kind of thought about like who I've enjoyed watching from like a close games perspective, style of play, interest. Like, everyone knows I'm going to have the Rockets on this list. I don't know that the Rockets play like a style of basketball that I really have enjoyed this season, but I'm fascinated to see who's going to do what every single night for them.
Yeah. Yeah, like they're that team. Who's going to score? Who's going to play? What are certain guys going to do? They actually, spoiler for my list, which we'll go through your list, and then I'll just let people know where I had. They ended up in my next teams up. I have my 1 through 10, and then I have my 3 next teams up, and they were one of those. And it's not because I dislike the Rockets. We've talked about the young core and how exciting it is, and honestly, if I turn on a Rockets game, I think more than anything right now, it's to watch Tari Eason and Amin Thompson more than anybody else on that roster.
Yes.
And that would not have been the case necessarily before the season.
Shout out the Bash brothers, Tari Eason and Amin Thompson. I mean,
it.
My goodness. By the way, Amin Thompson recently has been on one. We'll talk about that when we get to the Rockets. He has been incredibly, incredibly fun. Okay. Do you just want to dive in and start talking about teams?
Let's do it.
Okay. So number 10 on my list is the Clippers. You have the Clippers somewhere on your list. Where do you have them?
I had the Clippers at number 6 on my list. I love watching them play. You mentioned strength of schedule is 2nd in the NBA. Defensive rating is 5th. Like, I just love watching them defend. They're so active. They're so aggressive. They're long. They deflect everything. They do all of that. And then offensively, like I realize it's all through Harden, and I enjoy watching Norman Powell get buckets, but I also kind of like, okay, who else is going to make a shot? Can Chris Dunn can Amir Coffey make a shot? What's Derek Jones Jr.? Like, I'm even enjoying Mo Bamba. They've been playing my guy Jordan Miller a little bit lately. So I find myself gravitating to, I can watch the Clippers, as you mentioned, play a good team. I'm in.
Yeah, you just know it's going to be competitive.
Yeah.
Every time that they play a good team, because they just try and grind you down. Like, Ivica Zubac has had an awesome start to the season. He's having 15 and 13 right now, and he's super tough on the interior. Harden I don't want to say he's like rolled back the clock. He's shooting 37% from the field right now.
Yeah.
But like, he's been pretty effective by and large. It's just creating what they have to create.
Yes.
On that end, like on the offensive side of the court, like he moves the ball quicker than what we've seen him move it, I feel like, generally, or he just has to take it all on his shoulders and ball screens. Norman Powell, we talked about Powell quite a bit in the early portion of the season. He's shooting 49, 49, 82, averaging 23 points per game. He is on an immense heater to start the year, and it's unbelievable. And then, like you mentioned, some of these just role players, they're really just fun in terms of watching them try and grind dudes down. Right? Yeah. Like Derek Jones Jr., Chris Dunn, Terrence Mann, like these guys all really scratch and claw and fight defensively in a way that is, I find, incredibly fun to watch. Like, I've really, really enjoyed watching those like role players just be like, no, we think like we're really good. And like Chris Dunn's like playing for a contract, it feels like, every single night. And, Terrence Mann just got paid, but like he really works incredibly hard on the defensive end. They're a fun team to watch. I really enjoy them.
Well, and I think it's one of those, and we'll talk about another team I feel this very strongly about and why I enjoy watching. They're a team that they know their role. So you're right about James Harden. I watch James Harden play, and it's weird because I feel like he's more impactful than the efficiency numbers would say. I assume the metrics don't like him offensively because he's shooting 37, 31 from the field and 4.5 turnovers, but he has to do everything for them offensively. He kind of orchestrates it, but he knows his role. And then none of these other guys are trying to do too much offensively. Norman Powell just getting buckets. Zubac does what he does. And then Derek Jones Jr., 42% from 3 on 3.5 attempts. Coffey, 45% on 3.5 attempts. Both shooting well over 50% from 2. Chris Dunn, over 60% from 2. Those guys are just taking the shots they're supposed to. And I kind of enjoy watching a team that understands that this is my role. I'm not trying to do too much, and they all settle into it. So I do. Again, I enjoy watching them play. I enjoy the defensive effort they put in and kind of how they do matchups against the opponents, who takes what, and then how opponents try to attack that then, right, against this length and the versatility that those guys offer on the wing.
Yeah, they are pretty creative in how they try to like cross match and do stuff like that too. Yeah, Ty Lue has done an amazing job with this group, I think. Like they were a team that early in the season, I felt like people were questioning, are they going to tank? Like, are they going to like really, fall off of a cliff this year? I just think that Ty Lue is like too good of a coach. Like they are going to be competitive as long as they have vets who can defend and they have somebody who can be out there creating shots. Like they're going to be a tough out just about every single night.
I think the thing that could really derail a season or a part of the season for them are Norman Powell or James Harden. You lose one of those two guys for an extended time, and it becomes really, really tough to generate enough offense. And they're already 24th in offensive rating. You could lose Derrick Jones Jr. for a couple weeks and replace him with some of these other guys we've mentioned. You can't lose Harden and everything he orchestrates offensively for 3-4 weeks and stay afloat, in my opinion, offensively, unless somebody else just gets on a complete heater over that span.
Well, here's the other thing, on the opposite side of that, this team might get Kawhi back at some point. Like he just started shooting recently, and he's been cleared for that portion of it. And you hope that, December, January rolls around and maybe he gets into some games here and they could go up, this list and start to really play well. So I've really, really enjoyed watching the Clippers. And a big piece of it is that they just play. It feels like to me, they play close games. Like they played that really fun game earlier last week or this past week against the Warriors where they won by 3 or 4 points or something. There was that game against the Thunder maybe a week and a half before that one where it felt super tight. It was like their highest scoring game of the season. That was really fun. But then sometimes they'll play a little bit down to the competition as well. So I've really, really enjoyed the Clippers this year. They're a good time. Okay. Number 9. I have a team that I don't know that people will have. I have Orlando here.
Okay.
So couple of reasons. A, I think I like defense a little bit more than other people do, by and large, right? Like I think that generally I really enjoy teams that play creative defensive structures or just really grind you down with great ball pressure on defense. I have a real appreciation for that. And the Magic are third in the NBA in defense right now. They're figuring out what to do on offense more than anything. But, Jalen Suggs, even KCP, he struggled offensively to start the year in a significant way. He still is grinding you down on defense. Anthony Black has been fantastic on defense this year. You can just kind of look up and down the lineup. They have a lot of guys that really fight and scratch and claw on that end. Other guy that we have to talk about here, though, is Franz Wagner.
Absolutely.
His leap this year has been, to me, the biggest breakout of the year, I guess. He has been unbelievable. And look, we've been talking about Franz for quite a while now as a guy that is a max level player. When his deal came out, I remember we had to do a whole segment on, no guys, this isn't just a contract that he's worth. This is a total no brainer, 0 questions asked. You give him this contract, kind of guy. And so far he's averaging 24, 6 and 6. But if you look over his last really 8 games, 9 games, 10 games, that's when he's really come through. Over his last 10 games, really since Paulo has been out, he's averaging 28 points, 6.5 rebounds, 6.9 assists versus only 1.9 turnovers, 47% from the field, 36% from 3 on 8 3-point attempts per game. Remember when people thought Franz couldn't shoot? Yeah, that seems dead at this point. And he's shooting 88% from the line. If you look at basically any of the metrics through the early portion of the season, he has been one of the best players in the NBA to this point. EPM with their just season long tool to this point has him as the 5th best player in the league so far. In the conversation with Wemby, Giannis, Steph Curry, stuff like that. He has been that good so far this year.
Yeah, I think what is really exciting about him is his ability to do things on and off the ball. So we know he can play off the ball. I think he's one of the best cutters in the NBA. I think he's elite at that. But now with Paolo out, he's had to solely take the on-ball reps. And I got to watch this firsthand last night. against the Pistons, and he came out on an absolute tear, hitting, step back threes and all sorts of stuff. He went through a little bit of stretch in the second quarter where he wasn't handling it as well. Detroit got up into him a little bit, but then he figured out again in the second half. And so I think that's what's exciting, is that he can do both of those things on and off the ball.
Yeah, no, I am really excited to see what it looks like when Paolo comes back, because yes, he will probably downshift in terms of role, but I wonder if this little breakout kind of moment here has proven to the Orlando Magic and their people around their organization that they can really rely on him to create shots in a way that maybe they couldn't or felt like they might not be able to last year when Paolo was around. I don't know. Like I am interested to see what they look like now with Paolo back.
Yeah, I had that in my notes is, okay, what does this look like? How does Jamal Mosley then start to stagger rotations and stagger minutes between Paolo, between Franz? I think after seeing this, you definitely want to give minutes where Franz is on the court without Paolo. And I don't think we have any questions about how he plays off of him. I also want to piggyback on the team in general. They are top 9 in steals and blocks. They never give up on a play, Sam. Like, they were always recovering. Jonathan Isaac does it. Jalen Suggs does it. Anthony Black does it. They're just so much fun to watch in regards to that. They have, like Wendell Carter Jr. is not even playing, and you still feel like you get 48 minutes of good center play between Bataze and Mo Wagner and Jonathan Isaac. If you wanted to play him at the 5, the one thing I'm interested to watch, kind of big picture, the 3-point percentage is bad right now as a team. They are last in the NBA, and it's not Paolo and Franz's fault. It's Suggs, it's Anthony Black, it's KCP. Those guys aren't shooting the ball well right now.
Yeah, and look, like, I think Suggs will probably shoot it at some point. Like, he's shooting confidently at the very least right now. He's really getting them up. He is more than willing to fire right now, and part of that could just be because they have a real need for him to be that secondary option on the court. Once he's back with Paolo getting what seems to be more easy opportunities, I would envision that he will be okay in terms of what it looks like once he gets back to this. Bryce seems to be having a coughing fit, but regardless, the reason that the Magic are as fun as they are is the defensive end. They really just get after it. They have some fun breakout guys, obviously, like Tristan Da Silva is really sharp on the defensive end of the court. Anthony Black has been so fun this year. He still really struggles to shoot it. Really has struggled to shoot the ball in any regard. He's shooting under 30% from 3, but everything else is there. You look, 9 points per game, 4.5 assists per game. He processes it super well, gets the passing, gets the playmaking involved, moves the ball really quickly, gets it rolling. He has been a really fun player to watch this year as well, just in terms of hoping that he can be that secondary option next to Jalen Suggs long term. But yeah, no, I'm excited about the Orlando Magic, Bryce.
Yeah, no, they're really fun to watch. I had them. They didn't quite make my top 10. They were in my next list of others that, I had right there to do so.
Yeah. Okay. Before we move forward, let's get a quick little ad read up for our good friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the absolute best place for you to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. We love PrizePicks here at Game Theory because of how easy they make it to get real money sports action. If you noted earlier this week, I gave you out that Terry McLaurin over yardage, and oh boy, did he come through in the fourth quarter with an 86-yard touchdown. It was glorious. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. Download the app today and use the code GameTheory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use the code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Second, shout out the good friends over at Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn a very liberal 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth for just $5 per month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Robinhood Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Okay, Bryce. We're back here. Let's get to number 8. The Denver Nuggets are who I have at number 8. And this is one of those teams where I find myself just watching a lot of their games, largely because I'm still trying to figure them out a little bit. Yeah. Like, they've been really good by and large recently. They have righted the ship after a poor start to the season. They are 9-6. Obviously, they have lost like 3 of their last 5, but they went through that big winning streak before that. They just beat the Lakers. What was that? Was that yesterday? I guess it was, not Friday. I think it was yesterday. They played that super tight game against the Mavericks before that. And they beat the Grizzlies without Jokic before that on Friday night. So it's definitely a bit of a roller coaster watching them. And I feel like I'm still trying to figure out where to calibrate them in terms of like the contender rankings. But here's the other thing about them too. Yes, I get frustrated watching their bench. But every time that they play, I get to watch Nikola Jokic. And watching Nikola Jokic is a genuinely special experience if you enjoy basketball.
That's right. And so I didn't have him on my list. I don't have him on my short list. And I was thinking about like teams that I may have shortchanged or should have. And I was like, I will tune in to watch Nikola Jokic anytime because he is so much fun to watch play basketball. I don't want to be a hater here, but I don't know how much I like watching Jamal Murray play basketball. I haven't been a fan
either anymore.
I haven't been a fan. The shot diet isn't great. I do. Jokic is awesome though. And I will tune in to watch and see what Russell Westbrook is going to do. I'm interested to see how he tries to fit into this team and continue to fit into this team and make things work. Christian Brown is having a really good season for them. We talked about how important he was going to be. And right now he was shooting the ball extremely well from 3 and from 2. You mentioned how well he plays off of Jokic. The other thing is, you've called it from the start, Dario Saric cannot play for this team. They are better off playing DeAndre Jordan than Saric, because at least DeAndre Jordan will give you 6 fouls and he'll catch a couple lobs and grab some rebounds. They have some stuff to figure out, but I would agree that when you get a chance to watch Nikola Jokic, we should probably take advantage of it, because not that we're getting close. I don't know the next guy that's going to come along that looks anything like what this guy looks like.
I don't know if you watched the Laker game yesterday, but
I watched the Mavericks game. I haven't seen the Lakers game.
Saric came in for 4 minutes and the Lakers immediately went on like a 12 point run basically. And they started to play Jordan after that. And then eventually the Nuggets, by the way, the Nuggets won that game by like 25 because they went on like a crazy run in the third quarter. Yeah. But yeah, he just, that is like the ultimate, I have no idea what you were thinking signing for them. And look, we're probably over indexing on it. Like it's such a clueless like choice that it's hard for me to like reconcile it a little bit if you'd watched him play last year. But at the same token, this team is still great. Jokic is still unbelievable. Michael Porter Jr. has really come on strong after a sluggish start to the season. He's been fantastic recently. He's up over like 20 points over his last 8 or 9 games, I believe. It does come down to Murray still. It does feel like Murray needs to eventually come good and really get to where athletically he has been previously. He's still under 40% from the field. He's only averaging 18 points a game, and by and large, like, he brings a lot of his positive attributes as a scorer. At some point, they're going to have to figure it out, though. At some point, they're going to figure out what's going on with Murray. And if it is just like this is the new normal for Jamal, and if that's true, I mean, they're stuck with him because that deal's just not going to get moved. But I don't know. I don't know what to do if this is the new normal for Murray and he can't get back to a certain level.
I mean, I feel like every game I've watched, I've written the same thing in my notes. So this last game, I kind of wrote the question: Does Michael Porter Jr. actually need to be their second offensive weapon? Like, do they need?
I think he kind of is right now, for what it's worth.
And I guess that was like, they need to lean into that, and maybe they already have. But I just watched him. I think at this point, I think his skill level and his talent, just due to his size and shooting ability and the shots he's able to get to, I think that's where I'm at. Is like, he is now. Obviously, Jokic is the gravity and the center of everything. Porter Jr. has to be the guy that says, hey, you have to go get us 20 plus every night. That is your job, because Jamal now is going to have to fall into kind of that third option type of situation, because they're getting everything you would want from Christian Brown. They'll get everything they want from Aaron Gordon. I have no idea what Russ is going to continue to do throughout the year. The other night in that Mavs game, they put out a lineup of, they had, who was it here? Russ, Peyton Watson, and DeAndre Jordan are all on the court together. I'm like, there's no spacing here. They're not even going to get a shot off. Yeah. And of course, Russ hits 2 threes in that stretch. He's shooting like 36% from 3 right now. I don't think that's going to hold, but man, I think Porter Jr. is now the X factor for me. He needs to be a 20 to 22 point a night score for them consistently. I think he's the guy I'm watching for. I just don't think, I think Murray's that guy right now.
I don't know that. Yeah, I'm not sure if I see him getting back to that level yet. We'll see. Okay, number 7 is going to be the Houston Rockets for me. You had the Rockets on your list. It sounds like you did not have the Nuggets, right?
I didn't have the Nuggets even in my next part. I had the Rockets as my first team out.
Okay. The Rockets, I feel like I watch because I am fascinated on what it's going to look like on a night-to-night basis. Right now. They're 12-6, by the way. They are the weirdest 12-6 basketball team in a loaded Western Conference, and they're like 10th in the West in strength of schedule right now. So like it hasn't been like a serious gauntlet that they've played necessarily compared to what it's previously been, or like what they will have to play in the future. But like, Fred VanVleet has games where he can't, hit the ocean with a basketball if he's standing on the beach line. And Jalen Green started super well, and for the last like 12 games has been, I don't know, like not unplayable. Like he at least like has been better defensively this year. He still makes mistakes, but like defensively, he's been a little bit better this season. Şengün, like, is shooting 48% from the field right now. And a lot of that is because he can't make anything around the basket for some games. Like there are games where he goes like 11 for 15 or whatever. Then there are other games where he's really struggling. He'll go like 4 for 10. It feels like around the basket. Jabari Smith is starting to turn it around a little bit. It feels like to me. He's starting to get a little bit hotter as a shooter. He's up to 33% from 3 right now. The guys that just bring it every night that I know that I can trust and that I can just get around and just be like, yes, these are my dudes, are Amen Thompson and Tari Eason. I'm not joking. I think they've been their best players this year. I think that those two guys have been the best players. Honestly, Fred, I think still, and Şengün obviously has been really valuable. Fred is still valuable just from getting their offense into order. And I think he plays a bigger role on defense than what everybody else does, just in terms of fighting through screens, getting around. And then obviously Dylan Brooks too, by the way. Dylan Brooks has been really good this year. Like Dylan Brooks' defense has been fantastic. He has made shots from three. They just kind of get contributions from everybody. They're like a real genuine, like 6-person attack every night. And because they have those 6 guys that they can really trust, you know, maybe 5.5 with Jabari, depending on the night with Jabari, they can just kind of come at you in waves almost, it feels like. And they're just more athletic than everybody is the other piece of it too. They're more physical than you because they have Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks at the point of attack, and then they bring Steven Adams off the bench. And they're more athletic than you with like Tari and Amen and all these other dudes, right? They're a weird team. The vibes are like bizarre almost, it feels like. But they're super fun. And like, I seriously, give me 30 minutes of Tari Eason and Amen Thompson like every night, and I will watch this team at the end of the day. Like, they're really, really fun to watch.
I feel like we find a way to talk about the Rockets every episode, and rightfully so.
Because they're bizarre and fun.
And they have all this young talent that we can't figure out. I assume we would sound really hypocritical if we did hey, let's rank their young core right now after we did it 3 months ago, because I think it would be completely different than what it was 3 months ago based off what we saw. You touched on it, Sam. They have 7 guys averaging more than 11 points per game. So we talk about the Warriors, right? Like I come on this podcast and I talk about the Warriors' depth and how they're going to win the regular season with their depth and their depth and their depth. Well, the Rockets have 7 guys averaging more than 11, but none averaging more than 19. And that's not even counting Reed Shepherd, who's played every single game. He just doesn't get the minutes to really get, he's averaging 4 points a game, shooting 39% from 3. So it's just all of those guys. It is interesting here as I look at this. They've been pretty healthy across the board. Those 8 guys there's only 1 game missed, and that was from Fred, which is interesting. So it would be interesting to see, does that waves help them? What would happen if all of a sudden some guys were hurt? But I mean, Cam's not in the rotation.
Dude, yeah.
Jay Sean, we talked about not in the rotation. I'm not even counting Steven Adams in that. So they have plenty of depth, even if they ran
Jock
into
Lawndale is like the best third center in the league, probably.
Yeah. So plenty of names left to talk about. I'm with you though. I'm glad you brought up the physicality. I think we talk about the Thunder a lot with the physicality defensively.
They're so physical.
The Rockets are very, very physical across the board. And as you mentioned, they have the athleticism to go with it.
They're so explosive. They are really able to get up and down in transition. At some point, they just need real half-court shot creation. To me, like that's what it comes down to, and efficient half-court shot creation. It feels like to me as well. That's the piece they're missing, because Fred can't really get on into the interior. He can make high-level passing reads and do everything, but he can't score. Jalen just can't make decisions. I've broken that down in a video recently. It's driving me insane watching them play. He has games where he gets super hot, and I enjoy, or stretches in games even where he gets super hot. But that feels like the big issue right now, is they don't have the guy in the half court that can consistently break down defenses and just like collapse defenses really, and then be able to spray the ball out to shooters, or to be able to consistently score in efficient areas of the court.
Do you think Amin is eventually that guy? Do you think Amin still has that type of potential?
I don't know. The answer there is, I'm not saying bad or good. I'm just saying I don't know right now. He's not asked to do it. I will say that like he's had a couple of like really monster games recently. I thought that like he was the best player for them in their recent game against the one that they lost this weekend against the Blazers. They played the Blazers in like a back-to-back, but the one they lost against the Blazers, I thought he was their best player, and was really, really effective, just kind of flying up and down the court. It's a strange, they're very strange, dude. Like at some point they're going to have to figure out like we've talked a lot about them being like a consolidation trade team.
Yeah.
That's where it's going. I feel like it feels kind of like, do you remember that Utah Jazz team from a while back with like Gordon Hayward and like, I think Favors was on that team when he was pretty young, and they won like 50 games or so. I'm trying to think what year it was. It was like, might have been like 2018, 19, like something like that.
I'll look it up while you're talking.
What year was it? It might have been 2016, 17, maybe.
So
it's 2016, 17. Yeah.
2016, 17, they won 51 games with Hayward, George Hill, Gobert, Rodney Hood, Derek Favors, Joe Johnson.
And this Rockets team is younger than that team and like has more upside than that team moving forward. But what it always came down to for me there was like that team was in desperate need of like a consolidation deal, but it's hard to get guys to go to Utah, right? And you're not going to get them in free agency, and you're going to have to trade for them, and it's always going to be like kind of difficult, right? Houston is a marketplace where you can convince guys to go. Like there is no state income tax in Texas, and it's a big city where you can be like a real big market and you can throw your weight around. It feels like that's where this is going, is like they're going to have to consolidate at some point. But for now, we'll see what happens when the schedule gets harder, and it is going to get harder in the West. I enjoy watching them. I have a great time watching them play, and like I'm happy to watch them in this iteration for as long as the front office wants to let this stretch out. But at some point, they're probably going to have to go all in on somebody, and I just hope they make the right call to go all in on somebody, because they do genuinely just need like a half-court shot creator at the end of the day.
So where I always push back on the Thunder making a trade whenever we talk about it, because I just want to see their young core. With Houston, I think they're ready for the consolidation trade. Decide on the 3 or 4 players you want to keep, trade off a couple others, whatever draft picks, go make that move. I think they're ready for that. I think they've shown enough that they're ready for that, whoever that player is, whenever the time comes.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Like I just, to me, it's more about timing in terms of like who comes available.
Yes, I agree.
Like you can't do it with like, you know, the Bradley Beal level star that comes available.
I agree.
Like with all of their draft capital and all of their young players, they should be going in for like hoping that Giannis comes available. And I saw the report that Giannis, like they're not looking to make a move for Giannis. Guys, like if Giannis was actually available, which he's not, like everybody in the league will be going for Giannis. Like I refuse to believe that they're not going to look at that. I just kind of refuse to believe anybody in the league won't look at that.
Agreed.
Okay. Number 6. I have the Spurs here.
Okay. I had them higher.
The Spurs ranked.
I had them higher.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because I wasn't initially, and then I actually watched a Spurs game today I watched the Spurs Warriors game from Saturday night, and I'm like,
oh, that was a great one.
Yeah. Victor's too much fun. And quite honestly, I really enjoy watching Steph Castle and tracking his growth throughout the year. Vassell didn't even play in that game. So I just, those two guys primarily, but I enjoy watching them play, and kind of obviously with Victor, just kind of tracking his growth throughout the season, but Steph Castle as well.
Steph Castle was unbelievable in that game. He took the primary Steph Curry matchup.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for going there.
It was incredible dealing with Steph, chasing him around, the on-ball stuff. Like he was unbelievable, just forcing him to make life way harder.
Yeah.
Like I have not seen somebody make life that hard for Steph in a little while. Like I'm not going to overstate it and say like ever. Like I don't think, I'm sure that there's somebody that's made life harder, but like it's been a little while since I've seen somebody that made that really, really hard. Alexander asks, at what point is Castle getting included in the Rookie of the Year discussion? Right now. Yeah, right now. I would say he's a more valuable player, I think, than Jared McCain at this point. I do think that's true.
I mean,
in terms of winning,
the raw stats can't be that much lower than other people. I mean, I know McCain, but like the defense it's ridiculous. And I made a note, when Steph would go out, he didn't get to rest Then they went and put him on Andrew Wiggins. And I know people will laugh, but like Andrew Wiggins is playing very well right now.
Yeah.
And those are completely different type of players. You chase Steph off these screens and all of this. And then now you go guard the bigger, more athletic Andrew Wiggins, who plays a different style. And he was fine guarding both. He is so good, Sam. He is so good playing with his chest, keeping his hands active. I love watching him play defense. And then listen, I don't know that I believe in the jumper mechanics. Like that, it's still a little bit weird at times, but he was confident. He hit a huge one in that game, and he shot it from deep. Him and Wemby went back to back. Game was tied. Castle comes down, hits like a 26-footer, get a stop, come down. Wemby hits like a 28-footer, and it's like these two. And then what I love, they run those two in ball screen with Wemby with the ball and Steph rolling. And I'm like, this is Steph Castle rolling. And I'm like, this is so much fun. This is amazing. These two guys playing off of each other. Think about all the different iterations you can have of a Victor Wembanyama and Steph Castle ball screen. Either one can play with ball in hand, pick and pop, pick and roll, whatever. I love, you were higher on Castle than I was. I was really worried about the shot. Yeah. Everything has transitioned other than the shot. I'm still a little bit worried, but he seems confident, which is most important right now.
Yeah, so Castle so far in his last 9 games where he's like really entered the starting lineup and been like a 25 plus per minute game guy, playing 31 minutes per night in that time. 15 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, 44% from the field, 35% from 3, 80% from the line. I love it. I think he's been fantastic over the course of that little run here. It's funny, like that run, like right like at the start of that run is when I did rookie rankings and I had Castle at like 13. Right now I would have Castle at like 2 or 1 or like, I don't know where I would have him. Like he'd be somewhere in the top 3 for sure.
It's McCain, Wells, and him, right? Edie.
Yeah. And Edie would
Edie's
be in there
missed
somewhere,
a few games.
Edie, yeah, has gotten hurt.
Castle's 6th in points and 2nd in assists for rookies. So like, that's the thing. And I know we go beyond the numbers, but the numbers are there as well. It's not like he's 10th in these things and it's like, no, you got to go watch the game. When you watch the game, you see the impact even more, but the numbers are there for him as well. And I also found myself in that game going, we talked about the Chris Paul signing being a really good one. I continue to see that for them. He can play on the ball when they need it, but he can play off the ball and let Steph do his thing and let Victor do his thing. And then Harrison Barnes, like I wasn't sure. He's not much defensively, but he's knocking down open shots for them, which spacing for young teams is very important. And he's providing that for them right now.
Man, I just keep looking at Jared McCain's numbers over his last 7 games. And it's like 26, 3 and 4 and 51, 46, 96. And it's just like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, it's just unbelievable. Look, I guess McCain would have to be number 1 right now. Like he's averaging 16, 17 points a game and doing it efficiently and all that. Like the offense is the offense for McCain is drastically better than Castle right now. But Castle's defense is drastically better than McCain's. It's closer between those two than people think.
Yeah.
In terms of how much they're helping their team. They've both been amazing.
I think I would probably go McCain 1 based on the stretch, Castle 2, Jalen Wells 3, Edie 4.
That feels right.
You could flip Edie and Wells if you wanted to, I suppose.
Yeah, that feels basically right to me. Okay. Next up, but by the way, should we say anything about Wemby?
I was going to say, are we moving on?
We're only going to talk Steph Castle.
Are we on a time restraint tonight? Like we're just going to move on from the Spurs without really talking about Victor Wembanyama? I wasn't going to say anything, but
Spurs are 9-8. Like they're pretty competitive. And
yeah.
By the way, here's the crazy thing. I think the reason that like I didn't really like think to talk about Wemby is that they won those back-to-back games against the Thunder and the Jazz without him. Right.
Yeah.
And then they played the game against the Warriors on Saturday where he played and was great, especially in the 4th quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it wasn't like top of mind for me. I guess like top of mind for me outside of that 4th quarter has been how much all of the guys around Wemby have like really helped and have been amazing. Yeah. But I mean, the reason that we watch the Spurs in large part is Wemby, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, he's averaging almost 5 stocks, shooting almost 9 threes a game. he had some really interesting passes in this game against the Warriors, specifically these tip passes where he would just obviously catch the ball above where anybody else could get to. But he had one on a defensive rebound, Sam, where it was truly impactful. So he went up for a defensive rebound, put one hand on it, essentially just tipped it in the air to the outlet, which I think was Chris Paul, and it led directly to transition for the Spurs. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. You know, you watch Nikola Jokic and he's incredible getting these outlet passes long down the floor. This wasn't that way. It was just, you could see the way Wemby was processing the game of, I'm not going to come down and slow this transition down by a second. I'm just going to tip it, right to my man so we can go ahead and start the break. So there was some of that creativity and processing that was really interesting. The defense is just, it's so stupid. It's ridiculous. I mean, I watch and I try to critique because I'm like, oh, he's kind of not worried. Oh, it doesn't matter because he just recovers and gets a block. It's stupid to even critique that type of stuff.
He has the most margin for error of any defender I've ever watched, which makes sense given the physicality and like the 8-foot wingspan and 7'4" and the coordination and everything. Like, it makes sense that would be true, but I can't overestimate how true it is, kind of, just because I don't know, like, you expect that when somebody gets out of position in the NBA that, like, a lot of the time guys are just dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or sometimes, like, there are defenders in the NBA that, like, don't make the effort to recover or whatever. He makes the effort. His coordination's unbelievable. And on top of it, he just always gets there with his length. Like, the margin for error does not make sense to me when I watch him.
Yeah, no, it was a ball screen coverage in this one. He had completely turned his hips, opened them up, wasn't staying square, and it didn't matter. They tried to throw the lob, and he was able to turn around, and with his length and athletic ability, he was able to get there. He was able to tip it away. I still find myself wishing they would get him more lob finishes and opportunities and stuff in the lane. But the one time they did it after a timeout or to start a quarter, the Warriors defense just sucked into him and it wasn't going to be there anyway. So it's almost like they have to run it to be more of a decoy than actually get him the ball. So I don't know that it's all his fault. That I know I hear a lot of people frustrated with how many threes he takes and that type of stuff. I don't know how easy it is to get him opportunities in the lane because defenses are just going to suck into that gravity.
Yeah, that might be a thing I do. If I do post-game theory tonight, that might be the thing that I talk about, is just like the Castle Wemby defensive combo, because it's just really, really fun. Really fun.
Yep.
Okay. Number 5, the Cleveland Cavaliers are here.
Okay.
The Cavs are really good, and I enjoy watching good basketball. That's kind of the easiest way to put it. The Cavs are 16-1 right now. 16-1 or 17-1?
They are 16-1.
16-1. So they are 16-1 this season. They have the best net rating in the NBA. They have only lost one road game to the Boston Celtics so far, in a game that the Celtics shot the absolute shit out of the ball, and they had a disastrous Darius Garland performance.
I mean, we talked about how good Darius has been, but he couldn't make shots in that game.
Totally. That's absolutely right. Darius has been quite good this year. And having talked about like how bad he was at the start, 21 points, 7 assists, 2.5 turnovers. So almost a 3-to-1 assist to turnover, shooting 49, 43, 93. And I do feel like people still just look at that one game, right, and get frustrated about Darius and say like, oh, can they compete with these two small guards? They've been unbelievable with the two small guards to start this season. I will say they've played the easiest schedule in the league. Part of the reason they play the easiest schedule in the league is because they don't have to play themselves. Like that's a real factor compared to a lot of other Eastern Conference teams that do have to play them. If you notice, a lot of the best teams in the league do tend to have a bit of a lower strength of schedule by and large. But let's start with the Garland-Mitchell combo first. Look, I don't know how it's going to work in the playoffs. I'm not totally sure. There are games where they will be disadvantaged in terms of matchups.
Yep.
But man, have they been incredibly fun to watch being incredible shot makers. Both of them, I think, have really embraced playing unselfishly with one another. And like, look, Donovan's more the scorer. It's more on him as opposed to Garland, who's more like the distributing point guard who can really shoot pull-ups. I've really appreciated Donovan taking like just a small step back in order to allow Garland to come in and be on the ball a little bit more, and to allow Mobley to take like a smaller step forward and get to run a little bit more on the ball.
It's not by a lot, but he's taking the least amount of field goal attempts of his career since his rookie season. And I think that that's impactful. I think that's meaningful. I agree with you. That matches the eye test when you watch. You're like, man, Garland's kind of going crazy. Is Mitch? No, Mitchell's still on the floor. Wow, he's still engaged defensively, and he's not getting upset about this. For what it's worth, I had them 1 on my list because it's what you said at the top. It's fun to watch good basketball. And I enjoy watching teams where you feel like everybody knows their role, has a role, knows that role, and is willing to accept and fill that role. We've talked about this. I feel like that's what this team is right now. They know they're going to stagger the combinations of the guards and the bigs. And then their role players, I think, have been unbelievable this season. Karis LeVert, when he's played, has been good. Ty Jerome, like, seriously, Ty Jerome would be top 5 in 6 men of the year right now, right?
Honestly, like Ty Jerome should be very genuinely in the conversation for most improved player in the league.
So I put that in my notes as like, I put both, and I didn't know if what's the history of a 27-year-old winning most improved player? Is it normally somebody that late in their career?
Ty Jerome has a 0% chance to win the most improved player award in actuality.
Yeah.
With how they hand it out, like how the voters vote for it. I don't get a vote, whatever. If you want to hand me one, I will do it. But like, I don't get a vote, and it drives me insane with the way voters do vote on it. Having said that, Ty Jerome averaged 2 fucking points per game last year. He averaged 7 the year before with Golden State. Like, Ty Jerome is not a dude that has been like this valuable at any point remotely throughout his career. Right now, he's averaging 12 points per game and 4 assists, shooting 60, 55, 86.
Yep.
Like, look, the shooting will probably come down. Ty Jerome's also an elite shooter. He can also play on the ball. He can play off the ball. He is an incredibly valuable player for the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. Their bench unit is so fun on offense to me. Like, you get to watch Sam Merrill come in and just like absolutely chuck threes. George Niang is hitting 38% on 5 3-point attempts per game in under 20 minutes a night. Okoro's kind of flittered back and forth between starting in the bench, but in general, like, he's an active defender who has made his shots. Again, like Dean Wade has gone back and forth between starting in the bench, but like, he is an active defender who's made his shots. LeVert has been really good this year. Again, this is another team that just comes at you in waves in a way that I don't like. The Rockets might be the most similar in terms of like bench production, but they exceed the Rockets to me in terms of like actual real like numbers of bench players that they play.
The Golden State's the other team.
The Warriors too. And by the way, it's not an accident to me that the 3 teams that like are in the top 3 of their league right now, outside of the Celtics and the Thunder, are the 3 teams that just come at you in waves and can consistently deal with injuries and can consistently be able to manage whatever happens and what they're handed on a night-to-night basis. That game against Boston, by the way, where they lost by 3, I don't think any of Okoro, Wade, or LeVert played in that game, and they still like figured it out. They just have a lot of dudes that are able to come at you. And oh, by the way, they still have just like an absolutely terrific interior defensively with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. And that's another piece of it that is so enormous. Like, they're going to be able to go out and make another move, I feel like, at the deadline, and be able to go and get another one of these dudes who can really be impactful, I think.
Well, yeah, they played Garland, Jerome, and Craig Porter Jr. together in that Celtics game because of what they had. I mean, talking about going out and get another dude, they have one on the roster that hasn't played yet in Max Strus. Like, he hasn't even played for them.
Great point too.
Up to this point. So that could be their quote unquote trade deadline addition. And also, I thought Evan Mobley was awesome in that Celtics game. I thought he was really, really good on both ends of the floor. So the Stars, I think, are playing the best we've seen them play as a group of four. I don't think there's any argument to that. And the role players are filling their roles perfectly. You laid it out there. So to me, again, it's good basketball. It's fun offense. The defense is top 10, which is not what I expected. I was wrong about this team. I love that Kenny goes zone after timeouts all the time, and other teams' coaches still can't figure it out. You can see them like they've drawn up a man play in the timeout. Oh, shoot, they're in zone. I guess we'll scrap that. Stays in it till it no longer works. So he's mixing and matching that as well. I just think it's a really fun team to watch.
Here's the question I'll ask you. So Jalen Tyson has given them like fairly decent minutes so far. Like within this scheme, we've barely brought up the name Kenny Atkinson, but like Kenny Atkinson is invited so much more movement within this offense that I think has been so big and so critical to them being able to be as effective as they are. The thing I'll ask you is, if you were them, would you move Jalen Tyson if it got you Larry Nance? Because to me, Larry Nance is like the perfect big man to bring into this like Mobley and Allen duo, because he can play with both of them. He can shoot. He's a great defender. Tyson, I think, has given them really good minutes. So I say this having really enjoyed Jalen Tyson's play to this point, but I don't know if I'm them and I feel like I need one more body in the front court, which I think they do need just one more body. I don't know. That feels like the kind of move that could make sense both ways to me.
So here's the part that makes me nervous about that. LeVert, unrestricted free agent. Jerome, unrestricted free agent. Sam Merrill, unrestricted free agent. They're going to
struggle to keep all those dudes for sure.
That would be my hesitation. Now, the argument is like your depth in the front court is already an issue, but okay, let's keep that the issue that it is. At least we have this crazy wing depth that we have right now, or better, as Jalen could become one of those guys if you're able to keep one or two plus add him in for the one that you lose. So that's more of my hesitation than anything. I also was a pretty big fan of Tyson coming in, but I understand the idea of, okay, let's sacrifice this youth that's probably not going to help us a lot this year because of that depth to go and like, you don't want to take for granted a chance to go make noise, right? So if you really think you have a team that can compete with the Celtics and whoever comes out of the West, if you think that that's the move that gets you the depth, that helps you with the matchups, if you think that helps you beat the Celtics, then I think you make that move. I would have to think about it more to think, okay, is this the deciding factor in a 7-game series against the Celtics? Does Larry Nance make that difference against the Celtics? If the answer is yes, then you do it. If it's not, I think I'd rather keep the young potential rotation wing.
I think he does really help you against the Celtics.
Okay.
He gives you another body and help to throw at Tatum. He gives you another body who can play the math game because he can shoot from 3. Gives you another body when they get Porzingis back. That's the other thing with that Celtics game. They didn't have Porzingis.
Yep.
Gives you another body to throw at Porzingis and Horford, obviously. I don't know.
And for what it's worth, Nance is an unrestricted free agent as well. So like you run into a lot of, roster potential roster turnover in the offseason, but don't take for granted a chance to go, win a title. So
you know what the funny thing is there, by the way, about all of that? So Niang, Jerome, and Merrill plus Larry Nance all rep by the same agency.
Interesting. Okay.
So that would be like a weird wrinkle there too. That would be
nice.
Like funky to kind of
negotiate all of that.
Negotiate all of that too. Yeah. That'd be really interesting. Okay. Before we move on, we got to hit our good friends over at DUER. Truly, guys, I can't emphasize enough that DUER is one of my favorite sponsors that we have. It is the best feeling when clothes fit good and look good. And on top of that, when you can comfortably wear them all day long and for all occasions. That's exactly how I feel about my DUER jeans. These are truly the most comfortable pants I have ever owned. My wife, her parents had us over for a Thanksgiving thing on Saturday, and man, it was so great to just know that I could put on my DUER jeans, look good, and be able to go over to a nice little Thanksgiving celebration. They are just fantastic. They're so comfortable. They're lightweight. They also just feel like they keep you warm as well, despite being lightweight. Just fantastic, fantastic quality here. And they have styles that can be worn all year round. Their stretch performance denim and lifestyle apparel is built for doing. There is something for everyone for any occasion, and they are committed to sustainability. They use recycled materials and plant-based fibers whenever possible for natural breathability, softness, and moisture absorption. These are truly clothes that we can all feel good about purchasing. I love my DUERs, and now is the time for you to get your own, because DUER's Black Friday sale is now. They've got up to 50% off on these incredibly comfortable pants. This is the best time to upgrade your wardrobe before the new year and find some amazing holiday gifts. DUER's sale runs through December 2nd, but don't wait. These items will sell out fast. Go to shopduer.com/game theory to get these great deals before they're gone. That's shopduer.com/game theory. Shopduer.com/game theory. Okay, Bryce. At number 4, I have the Golden State Warriors.
Yep.
The Golden State Warriors are just an absolute wagon, and they are currently first in the Western Conference, and they come at you in waves, kind of like we've talked about with the Cavs and with the Rockets, but they also have Stephen Curry. And having Stephen Curry on top of having a number of really high-level players who all, by the way, I mean, outside of maybe one guy here who we'll talk about in a minute, and I kind of wonder what his fit is with this team. They all really think
who that is.
Yeah, they all think the game at a really high level. Like Draymond Green is a basketball savant that's, probably one of the 10 smartest players to ever play basketball, in my opinion, just in terms of the way he thinks the game on the court. For somebody that has his athleticism to be the elite level defender that he is, it just speaks volumes, obviously, and to be the incredible passer and playmaker that he is. I think Wiggins just knows how to operate within their scheme now at a really high level. Buddy Hield is like an unbelievable relocator, great coming off of screens. Podziemski hasn't played super well this year, but he's still really smart and able to feed them minutes. He plays like 20 minutes a night for them. Melton's obviously out for the year, but he fit their mold really, really well. Moses Moody knows how to play within their scheme at a super high level. Kyle Anderson is just one of the smartest players in the league. Trayvon Looney has been around. Yeah, Trace Jackson Davis, just knows exactly how to play well within their scheme. Gary Payton and Trace Jackson Davis is a really smart player in general. They just have such a high feel for the game, such a high IQ basketball team, on top of just having 10 or 11 bodies that they can throw at you on a night-to-night basis, that it blends really well with the combination of Steph and Draymond together.
Yeah, we talked about the Rockets and, the guys they had averaging this many points. The Warriors have 9 guys averaging 7 points or more, and that does not include Lindy Waters, Kevon Looney, Kyle Anderson, or Gary Payton II. And of course it does include, unfortunately, D'Anthony Melton. That was a tough, and that's what you mentioned, Hild's off-ball movement. Think about the guys you have to chase around. Obviously, everybody knows Steph. Hild is really good at it. Buddy is also really good. He doesn't run ball screens necessarily, but he runs off-ball screens with the same idea, because you have to step up. If your man sets the screen, he's really good catching and then immediately dumping it off. He got Trace Jackson Davis 3 looks just off that action. but Lindy Waters can do it as well. So they have another guy that can just run around and has real gravity as a floor spacer and a 3-point shooter. So I love that about them. I love the off-ball movement. It's just so much fun to watch, the cutting. And, whenever the guy has the ball at the elbow, I would encourage people, do not watch the ball. When you're watching the Warriors, do not watch the ball. Watch the actions happening strong side, weak side, wherever, because that's where the ball is going to end up. That's where the action is actually happening with the Warriors a lot of the time. Not where the ball is. It's happening somewhere else. I want to ask you about Draymond. Is Draymond first team all defense at this point in the season?
Yes.
I think so too. They're fourth in defensive rating, and I think he's making an impact that we're used to with
the
Draymond.
captain.
Yes.
Yeah, like you look at everything that they do out there on defense, even when he's like tangentially involved in the play or on the weak side, he's literally calling out every single thing for these dudes. Like I don't care that the counting stats, he's averaging like 1 steal and 1 block. I don't care that they aren't high. He is one of the smartest defenders I've ever seen play basketball. And look, I've talked about this for like 6 years on my show now. I feel like I've been a broken record talking about Draymond Green and his intelligence as a basketball player. You watch him on the weak side, he's literally calling out actions before they happen. You watch him behind the play, he's calling out what teams are going to do every single time. You watch him at when he ends up playing like in drop, or if they play him in versatile coverages as well. Like he's calling out screens, he's calling out different actions at all the time. Like I watch Draymond Green and I just am like so unbelievably, incredibly impressed. And I get that people get like frustrated with all the other shit that comes with Draymond, and it's fine. But the guy is a basketball savant, and I just can't get past watching him play basketball. I enjoy his game so much because of everything that he brings to the court.
I over the last 3 games, as I've watched him play and watched his impact, that's the first thing that has come to my mind as I start to think about these things. Who's the MVP of the league right now? Who are the first team all NBA guys? And, you just think about those things. Who's playing the best? And then the defensive side, obviously Wemby leads the charge here, but then I like to watch games and think, okay, is this an all NBA level defender? And I watch Draymond compared to everybody else I've watched. I'm like, he's at least in the conversation, especially when you factor in how good they have been defensively, and their roster isn't loaded with guys that you would say are plus defenders. And so, he's at the catalyst of that. I also want to give a shout out to Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins has taken a lot. We've talked, negative contract, trade conversations, all of those things. Up to this point, he's averaging 17.5, 4.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, doesn't turn the ball over on 48, 41, 77. He's had a really, really good start to the season. I don't know what everything was around Andrew Wiggins, but I find myself very happy for him to see this. And it's important for the Warriors that he gives them that second kind of scoring punch behind Steph.
I agree. Here's my kind of follow-up for you now.
Okay.
If you notice, I kind of left out like one player there when talking about like the IQ and the way that like the feel for the game
trade him.
Gets borne out on the court.
Yeah.
Jonathan Kuminga this year is shooting 44% from the field, 31% from 3, averaging 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He does stick out like a sore thumb a little bit when I watch them. I wouldn't deny the talent necessarily. It's just that I don't know that it's a great fit when I watch him. And I'm really interested to see what his kind of market would look like in a trade. And I'm really interested to see, like, will they move him? Because honestly, like, he does bring them a degree of shot creation that they do value off the bench. Like, it's not losing him for nothing would be a bad plan. I think like they need to go get something. It's just, what is that something? And I don't know.
It's funny because just reading back through stuff, he doesn't fit the mold in terms of their play style. he'll get out in transition. That's the one thing he can do. But in the half court, he wants to play more ISO. It seems like an ISO heavy team could be interested in him as another guy to add to kind of that stuff. There was a really interesting play in a game I watched recently where he attacks middle, makes a very simple read to Gary Payton in the weak side corner, and Payton missed the shot, but Steve Kerr clapped like 15 times. It wasn't like a drive, kick, swing, drive, kick, swing, like one of these beautiful possessions. Very, very, very simple drive, kick to the weak side. And you just watching Kerr's reaction, it was like, man, they must really, really be pushing him to pass the ball for him to be that excited about that type of play. And to me, that says a lot about, okay, they're really pushing him to play this style. And maybe because he could have forced the mid-range jumper where he got. And so I don't think they value what he brings. I think if they want to get that, they'll get it out of Steph and whatever, or maybe they think they can get out of Wiggins. I think they move him, and hopefully they can find a team that values kind of that isolation, physical style that he can play.
Yeah, I'm really interested. Really interested to see what they do with that, because it's the one that makes the most sense, in my opinion, for them to look at moving.
Yep.
Okay. Number 3 on my list. Did you have the Warriors on your list?
They were number 4.
Okay. I have the Grizzlies at number 3.
I have them at 7. So like I'm right there with you.
I kind of mentioned earlier in the show why I love the Grizzlies. They just play such a weird, unique style right now, like league wide, that the way that their offense like all kind of flows around like in like a circle, and the way that they run up and down the court, and the way that their spacing just consistently figures itself out in order to basically play 5 out all the time, except for when Edie's on the court. And on top of it, they get super, super creative with their lineups with some of these bigs. Like, it is not uncommon for them when Edie is healthy to go Santi, Jaren Jackson, Zach Edey. And that's like 3 7-footers or 6'10 plus guys, whatever it is, that you have on the court at once who are preliminarily like quote unquote bigs. Or like you'll just have moments where they play smaller, where like you have Laravia at the 4 and you'll have like multiple guards out there. Like you can go, Desmond Bain, Scottie Pippen, and John Morant all on the court at once if you want to, with like Laravia at the 4. Their mix of style as well as their overall like lineup creativity and flexibility in the way that they go about matching up with different teams is one of the most interesting constructions I've seen league wide this year.
Well, we talk about waves. Let's stay with it. Let's give the numbers. They have 7 guys averaging over 11 points a game. They have 11 guys averaging over 7 points a game. And that doesn't count Brandon Clark, who's been starting for them recently. So they have real depth. We haven't even seen, we got 3 games of Vince Williams before he went down. And then obviously Gigi hasn't even played. So there's even more depth.
Yeah. And part of this is injuries.
But yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Do you know how many players are currently averaging over 14 minutes per game when they play?
But I mean, I have it pulled up, but go ahead.
They have 14 guys that average over 14 minutes per game. It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy to watch them.
Well, what's funny though is Santi is second on the teams in minutes per game. Rookie Jalen Wells is 5th. Started the season on a 2-way after playing summer league. Scottie Pippen Jr. is 6th, and don't pick up his 4th-year option. Jake LaRavia is 7th. Like, that's what's funny to me is of your top 7 guys, it's not like it is Bane,
Bryce,
but it's not Smart and those guys.
Their top 5 in minutes played total this year is Santi, Wells, Pippen, Jaren Jackson, and LaRavia.
That's perfect.
And they're the only guys. they've all played 417 plus minutes.
Yep.
Nobody else has played 300 minutes.
That's
like, those are their 5. And look at where those guys, like, look at their situations.
Yep.
Santi, I think, was like the last pick of the first round. Jalen Wells was the second round pick. Scottie Pippen went undrafted. Laravia, went 22 or whatever. And like, they didn't pick up his option. Their ability to find these dudes that can consistently give them minutes. And by the way, Jay Huff is another one, undrafted guy.
Yep.
The freaking Nuggets let him go last year, and God,
hey, could the
knows how much
Nuggets
they would really
the Nuggets
use him.
use Jay Huff right now, Sam? Would he play for the Nuggets, you think?
Yeah, right. Like, it's crazy. Brandon Clark, like, outside of the top 20. Desmond Bane is 6th in minutes, went last pick in the first round. They just find these dudes. Like, they absolutely find them, and they continue to grind their way to wins. And it's because this front office finds them.
Yeah.
And like, a lot of these dudes are guys that we've called out before.
Yeah.
Like, we really, really like, I had a first round grade on Santi Aldama. Like, we loved Laravia, or I loved Laravia pre-draft. I think I had him like right around 20. I had Desmond Bane in like 16 or something in that draft, and he goes 30. Jay Huff is a guy that I've been talking about for 3 years now as being an NBA player. Like, you just look up and down this lineup, like, it's a lot of dudes. Obviously, my beloved Cam Spencer. Like, we love these guys, and the Grizzlies just like find them off the scrap heap somehow. It's crazy.
The total minutes played one is amazing. That it's Santi, Jalen Wells, Scottie Pippen Jr., Jaren 4th, and then Jake LaRavia 5th. And
nobody within 125 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about Jake LaRavia a lot last episode, just as a potential, when we were looking at potential trade targets, what would Memphis do with him? But Jalen Wells, we mentioned earlier in terms of rookie of the year. I mean, that's the thing, you look at the draft and they have 2 guys in at least the top 5 of the rookie of the year conversation right now. And I realize, down year, blah, whatever. Both of those guys are averaging double figures. Jalen Wells is shooting 46-40 right now and taking, not as the defender that like Steph Castle is, taking primary defensive matchups so other guys on the team don't have to. They've done an awesome job. I feel like we have to give some credit to Taylor Jenkins for what he does. I mean, I love to give players the credit, but I have to give him credit as well. And then I'm glad you mentioned the offense, because the offense is fun to watch. It's a little different than like the Warriors, but you watch a Grizzlies game, again, watch off the ball when the drives happen. Those guys are almost moving in unison. If they're in the corner in the slot, then they end up in the top of the key in the slot. Or if they're in the slot at the top of the key, then it's the other slot in the top of the key. They just move, the right guy cuts. Rarely do they end up on top of each other. And that's not easy to do when you're playing 11, 12 guys and guys are in and out of the rotation.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. And I hope that they get healthy. Like, this is a team that has a real shot, I think, if they get healthy.
Yeah.
If John Morant like fully gets back, and if Jaren Jackson and Desmond like stay healthy now, I mean, man, they have a real shot. The interesting one for me is, at some point, do they kind of decide, hey, we have so many bodies playing the role that Marcus Smart is right now that we can just kind of make it work by committee. And we look at moving Marcus Smart, given that it's not going super well at this point.
That would be interesting.
Because he's the one that has like a $20 million salary, and they could add, picks onto it. They could add players onto it. I wonder if they go out and like try and make like a real consolidation move at some point.
Interesting.
To see what they can do. I don't know. I don't know what they're.
Yeah, because we often talk the other way, right? Like all of these names we've thrown out, consolidating them, but that's true. Do you feel like you can just get what you would need from him with these names we're talking about, as well as Pippen Jr. has played, LaRavia has played, Wells has played? I think I like that idea. I wonder what his value would be. I wonder what the return could potentially be for a Marcus Smart.
Honestly, I don't know. Like, cause he just is not, like, he got hurt last year, and then this year, like, he hasn't played super well. They kind of need to just get minutes into him and like get him healthy more than anything. Obviously, he like got sick and didn't play in the game against Chicago, but like, I want to see what he has left. I want to see, like, can he help them? I want to see, can he help somebody else? Like, that's a fascinating situation that like has gone under the radar because they've had so many other guys step up that it hasn't really hurt them. But like they moved like a lot of value for him. They moved like Tyus Jones and 2 first-round picks to get him. And I hope that he comes back and is able to play, or they're able to like move him for something, because I really, really enjoy this Memphis team.
Yes.
Okay. Next team for me is the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yep. They were number 2 on my list as well.
So we've talked a lot about the Thunder this year. We really just love them on defense as much as anything. Even without Chet Holmgren, this defense is still just an absolute wagon. They are so fun to watch defend because they have so many dudes that just sprint around and fly around. I will note, they are drastically worse without Chet.
Sure.
It doesn't reduce my enjoyment of watching them, but like if you look at the numbers, they are considerably worse since Chet has been out, in part because they don't have rim protection. When you don't have rim protection, it's a real problem. Now, Hartenstein has gotten back over the last couple of games and has been able to play and been able to like kind of make things work for them. But without Chet, they have a 106.6 defensive rating. With Chet, they have a 99.5 defensive rating, which is completely bonkers. They are first in defensive rating right now at 103.1 league wide. I mean, with Chet, like that's absolutely sick.
Yeah. He's a difference maker. This is going to be a very interesting conversation, I think, even more so than last year, in terms of who gets what when it gets to defensive awards for that team. Because especially when you add in the guys they added in Caruso and Hartenstein, and I think Lou Dort is awesome. I think he right now, with the way he's shooting the basketball and the way he defends, he's got to be one of the better 3-and-D wings in the NBA when he's shooting at 40% from 3 on almost 6 attempts. He fits right into how they want to play physically. They just swarm, they rotate, they're physical. And like you said, like they're doing it without that guy right now. Imagine when they have 48 minutes of it. I mean, they were starting J-Dub at center because they had nobody else. And at some point, it's going to be both Chet and Hart, or one or the other for every single minute of a game. You're going to have one of those guys behind you, with Dort defending, with J-Dub defending, with what SGA does as a defender, not to mention Cason Wallace and Alex. Like the plethora of options you have for matchups, I don't think it's matched in the league, just in terms of guys that you can say go guard at the point of attack and do it physically and do it well.
Yeah. Do you think people buy into like the Jalen Williams is a star thing yet that I've been talking about for the last 2 years? Like, do we think people buy that yet? They should. If they don't, because holy shit, has he been amazing over the last, like, I don't know, 10, 12 games, whatever it's been.
I mean, give the 16 game number. The 16 game numbers are ridiculous.
Oh, he's averaging 22, 7, and 5, shooting 52, 39, 82.
Yeah.
But if you just look over the last 10 games, he's at 24.3 points, 6.6 rebounds, 5.1 assists, averaging over 3.5 stocks per game, under 2 turnovers, shooting 57, 40, 92. Like, this dude, I am telling you guys, I've been telling you for the last 2 years, this dude is like this era's Jimmy Butler. Like, it's who he is. He is a monster. He's physical. He's strong. He gets wherever he wants on the court. He finishes on the interior. He's a killer mid-range game. He's continuing to improve as a three-point shooter. He is a monster on the ball defender who can guard 1 through 4. This is the guy that you want to build around. And oh, by the way, they have him and Shea. And Shea has been unbelievable too. Like,
this team is they are first in the NBA in steals, second in blocks, with Chet only playing 10 games and Hartenstein only playing 1, and then they don't turn the ball over. Think about how many possessions you create when you lead the NBA in turnovers and lead the NBA in steals and are second in the NBA in blocks. So you're disruptive defensively while being solid, because all of these defenders are solid along with being disruptive. And then you never give it away on the other end. Like the one, obviously the rebounding, and I think those numbers will get better. The one thing they're not doing well at an elite level, I feel like, is getting to the free throw line. Everything else.
Yeah.
And that's honestly one area where J-Dub could improve. Right now he's under 3 attempts a game. But what has his stretch been recently? That may have been numbers. Has he been getting to the free throw line more recently or no?
No, not really.
Okay.
2.6.
Which is interesting with how physical he plays. So
yeah, I don't really know. Like, I feel like he hasn't quite figured out yet. Like, he picks and chooses his timing as a driver.
Yeah.
He hasn't quite figured out like the driving, I don't know, like the sequencing of his steps yet. Like, he's a great extension finisher, but I feel like he hasn't quite figured out yet, like, how to go slow to fast to slow to fast and then like extend to finish at the rim. And then, like, he's obviously incredibly physical. Like you said, it's a funky style to watch. I don't really know. It'll come. Like, I have no doubt it'll come because he has the physical tools to do it. And he's like a crazy competitor and crazy worker. But that is like the one step for him that I think is missing, that I think it'll figure itself out, but like it'll have to figure itself out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, the thing is, it's hard to argue when a guy's shooting that efficient. Also, shout out, the re-signings of Aaron Wiggins, or extensions of Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe. Wiggins is playing really well, shooting the ball at an elite level again this season. Joe's percentage, not as high, but the volume is higher. Like, those two guys both averaging over 9 points a game, 20 minutes. Like, those are just really nice rotation pieces that I think sometimes get forgotten about when we talk about all of these other players. And then AJ Mitchell, you talk about like winning the draft. We talked about him and how good he's been for them this season.
Yeah, we have. I love this team. And again, like, we've barely talked about their superstar, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
We didn't even mention his name.
Yeah, like one of the 5 best players in the league, very clearly averaging 29, 5, and 6, shooting 50, 34, 90 from the field. He creates shots at will from the mid-range, creates them at the basket. Obviously he's taking like 5 threes per game now. He is the one guy that does consistently get to the line on this team.
Yeah, almost 8 attempts.
They have him play like off the ball defensively, and he's really good at creating turnover. Like, he's just such a spectacular player.
Yeah, he's almost at that. That's when I looked at the steals and blocks. It's like, dang, J-Dub is averaging over 3 stocks per game. And then it's like, well, Shai's right there at almost 3, and Chet was over 3, and Dort's at 2, and Cason Wallace is at 2.2. Like, this is just ridiculous what they do. But yeah, I mean, SGA is the engine. Every game I watch, the decel that he plays with and how he just nudges guys off to get where he wants and then able to stop and start, like, the creativity he has, but the pace he plays with is so much fun.
Well, and it's like, you just look at all the dudes they have. They have Cason, they have obviously Lou Dort, they have J-Dub, they have Shai, they have Chet, who's really disruptive, Caruso. Like, all of these dudes are so disruptive. Like, that is the key to all of this. Like, they're disruptive at the point of attack with how physical they are. They're disruptive in passing lanes. They're disruptive in help defense. Like, that's everything that they do is just based on being longer and bigger and just like, frankly, like, processing the game faster than you do. Yep. They are awesome. They're awesome to watch. Number 1 team I have is the Lakers.
Okay.
I'm just going to say it. I love watching this Lakers team. I love their offense. They are a weird team that I'm still trying to figure out. They kind of tick every box for me right now in terms of early season league pass rankings, where I don't know what you are yet. I'm still kind of trying to figure you out, but I love watching you play basketball because you play this incredibly fun style of like offense under JJ Redick. You have dudes that I really enjoy watching, like Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis and LeBron James. You have a rookie who is starting to really, cook and figure things out in Dalton Connect. You have just a whole lot of fun shit going on in LA, while also not being like a perfect team. Like, their transition defense has improved a little bit over the last like 5 or 6 games, but it's still pretty abominable. You have to figure out like what you're doing defensively. You have to figure out what's going on with the wing positions. Like defensively, you have to figure out like a backup center option, like where Koloko is playing right now. And, obviously Jackson Hayes has gotten minutes this year. Like they're a weird team that is a super fun team to watch that also has like these really young players in Connect and like sort of Reeves, and also has superstars like LeBron and AD that you just feel lucky to watch as well. They kind of have a combination of everything that I continually find myself, if I just have like a moment where I'm needing to find a game, if the Lakers are on, I feel like I'm probably watching the Lakers because I'm trying to figure them out.
Interesting. So I want to go back to the Thunder real quick. I misspoke about their rebounding. They are 30th still in defensive rebound percentage. So that is still a concern that they have to get figured out with the big lineup. So I misspoke saying that they weren't as bad, but obviously that's still, I was looking at total defensive rebounds. I think the pace they play probably just offers more. Yeah, so this was a team I did not have ranked. So of all the time we've recorded together, this may be the furthest we've been like I didn't even have them in my next three, which is interesting. So
I just continually watch them. Like I love watching their offense. They have incredibly like complex, fun structures on offense. They have all the young guys, and they like I don't know what they are yet is the thing. Like if I and this is kind of the way I thought about these rankings, right? Is just if I have a free moment,
sure,
and all 30 teams in the league are on, what game am I going to go to most? I think there's a pretty real chance I'm just going to go to the Lakers because I know I'm going to get to watch their offense, which is incredibly fun. And I know I'm going to like be trying to figure out like, okay, like what the fuck is this right now?
No, and they've run some really interesting actions for Connect. Looks like a lot of times it ends up at the top of the key, and then they'll run actions off of this. I think we talked about this with the LeBron AD action where they ran something for Reeves, got Reeves a shot, and then the next time they ran something a little bit different off of it. So they have actions that build off of each other and layer off of each other, playing, 13th pace. They will get up. I feel like they like, LeBron will throw the kick aheads. AD can get that quick post position in transition. Yep. And then, like you said, Connect is just hooping right now. Like, it's probably unfair that we haven't mentioned him, I guess, in the rookie of the year conversation, as he's 52, 45, 93 right now, averaging 11.5 points. Maybe we just need a few more games of it. They went away from him in the starting lineup, right? Like when
Rui got back, they decided to start Rui instead. Look, I disagree. I've talked about that at length. I don't know that I need to talk about it more. I just don't. I think he accentuates the Lakers starting lineup, and it plays down a little bit when he's in the bench lineups because it's harder for him to get loose and it's harder for them to actually create shots for him.
Yeah. AD also having a really nice season, averaging 30 and 11 on really good efficiency. And then Braun is still doing his thing at his age, 40, 24, 9 and 8, just playing really well. You mentioned, Austin Reeves. So again, I don't have as much here. They were not in my top 10. They weren't even, I guess, in what I would call my top 13.
Yeah, they are. Man, I just find myself going to their games all the time. I'm just like, all right, this is fun. I know that I will be in for a fun time when I watch the Lakers. And what are they? Look, I think that they are a contender if they go out and like they get real perimeter defenders.
Yeah.
Or at least one real perimeter defender. The more I think about it, the more I like the Bruce Brown idea. We talked about this on the last episode, obviously. The more I think about it, like if you could go get Bruce Brown, that's the one that you go get. I think that makes just a ton of sense across the board for them. Like they just are really fun for me. I can't explain it more than that.
No, I mean they have really good players. They have the older players, they have the young players. I can see it. They just aren't there for me right now. So
yeah, fair enough. Okay. Bryce, that's it. Let's dive in.
Okay. Yes. I'm excited for this one.
To the beautiful time that is trivia. It's time to bring up GMAC, our fearless leader. Andrew Claudio is in the building.
Maybe. There he is.
What's up, fellas?
How's it going, guys?
So how far down your list, Bryce, was the Knicks?
They were, so when I did this, I just wrote down teams that I would even consider, and they were on that initial list of like 16 teams.
Oh, 16. Okay. They would be in like my bottom 10. I'm kind of forced.
They
to
would
watch
also
them at
be
this
in
point.
my bottom 10.
So I just want to figure
just-
them out.
Yeah. I get so frustrated watching that team.
So the rest of my list, I had the Mavericks actually at 5 because I really enjoy watching Kyrie and Luka, obviously, and then also seeing what these role players. I had the Hornets because I like watching what LaMelo Ball is going to do and Brandon Miller. I had the Sixers in my top 10 just because I want to see what is going to happen that night. And I had the Wizards just because of all the young guys. The Wizards were 10th, and that was a little bit more of just like young team. Here's the other thing. Like, I'm not going to put the Pistons on my list. So like some people may have the Pistons as the young team that they would want to watch. I realize the Wizards aren't any good, but I want to see what Alex Sarr looks like consistently. I want to see what Bub looks like consistently, that type of stuff. And then I had the Celtics at like, I guess what would have been 12 because like the Celtics are just really good. So
yeah, I had the Celtics in my top 15. I had the Wizards very low.
Yeah.
I would have had them like in the bottom 5 or 6. I don't
Sure.
really enjoy watching that team. I would have had the Pacers very low, by the way.
I would have as well. I would have as well.
They're like watching them is just a bummer right now.
Yep.
More than anything. And that's kind of how I feel about the Knicks. Like I just get bummed watching the Knicks because they don't have a chance. Like I know what their defensive numbers say. Like I know that they are not one of the 5 worst defensive teams in the league. I get that. When I watch them, I feel like I'm watching one of the 5 worst defensive teams in the league. And it drives me insane.
I have no pushback. I don't think the experiment so far has revealed as good an offense as I thought it would be. But if their offense is like a tinge off, then they're going to lose that night. Like we saw it last night against the Jazz of all teams, who are well coached, have a really good leader in Lauri Markkanen, and we're hitting every 3. And like Karl-Anthony Towns had an off night. Jalen Brunson had an off night from 3. Mikal Bridges. That's honestly the most frustrating part of all of this is that the Knicks may have traded 6 picks for the version of RJ Barrett they had on the Knicks. And like if there's no second thing to tap into if the thing that is great in their offense is not great. Like if that's off, they're going to lose tonight. Got it. And it's very frustrating at the moment, I will say.
Yeah, they're a team that is immensely frustrating to watch for me right now.
Indeed.
Okay, Bryce.
Okay.
Trivia time, folks. Let's do it.
This one is going to be very different than anything we've done. And I want to give Saturday Slam and Jam, Andrew Schlecht and Alex Spears a shout out. We're going to do it a little bit over under style that they do over there. So wanted to make sure. So what I did was I took the top 10 players in active points. Okay. Top 10 players in career points. We're not going to name them. So it's not a surprise. LeBron, KD, Steph, Chris Paul, Giannis. Those are the people we're talking about. Okay. When we do this, guys, this is important. I did not include this season into this. So it's any season before this. And I did not factor in games played. So if a player only played 10 games, I still took their stats for that season. Okay. What we're going to do is an over under, but we're going to do it slam and jam style. So for example, if you are up, I will say, Bryce Simon, did he have how many seasons of 20 points did he average in college? You can either choose to answer that, giving the over under, or you can make Sam. If you say 2, then Sam gets to go over or under. Okay.
Okay.
Got it? If you guess correctly, you get 2 points. So that would be the advantage to making the guess, not doing the over or under.
I'm not even going to try and type this out for the screen.
You should not do that. This is not going to be conducive for that. This will all make sense when we get into it. So that will probably be the easiest thing to do. So are we ready? Who wants to go first?
I would ask that Sam go first, and that we
Sure.
do
Okay.
maybe a practice question,
Practice question.
or maybe the first one can count. I
Oh,
want to see how it goes first. and
It'll
then-
be easy.
Yeah.
It'll figure out. Okay, so we're LeBron James, Sam Vecenie. Okay. How many seasons of 30 plus points per game seasons does LeBron James have? So what Sam can do is
30?
30.0 or more. What Sam can do is he can either guess, and if he gets it right, he gets 2 points, or he can let you guess. And then the other person will pick over or under that number.
Oh, okay. I see. What if we say like push? Like I think they hit it.
Then that's when you get 2 points. That's the
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah. So Sam, do you want to guess or you want to make Andrew guess?
I will let Andrew guess.
Okay, so if you guess correctly, right on the dot, you get 2 points. If you don't, then Sam has to go over or under your number, and whoever is right based on that gets 1 point. So LeBron James, 30.0 points per game or more seasons in his career.
I believe the answer is 1, but I'll say 2. I'll say 2.
Okay, Sam, over or under?
I will say, oh God.
That was a good number then, Andrew, because if you're making him think about it, that's
Yeah.
a good over.
I will
under.
say over.
The correct answer is 3.
Yeah.
Well done.
So Sam gets 1 point for correctly saying over the number that Andrew gave us. So he had a season in 05-06 of 31.4, 07-08 of exactly 30.0. And guys, he was playing over 40 minutes a game early in his career.
Yeah.
And then in 21-22, he averaged 30.3. Okay, I think we have it now. So Andrew, now you get to make this decision that Sam just made. We are doing Kevin Durant's seasons where he has shot 40% or better from 3. Would you like to guess or would you like to make Sam guess?
I would like to guess. By the way, I just completely blanked that LeBron in 2022 averaged over 30 a game. That would be. I knew
That
about
is
06 and 08. I will say that. Didn't know that much.
So this is Kevin Durant,
Kevin Durant 40 from 3.
40% or better from 3. How many seasons has he done this? You're going to guess? Or
I'll say
okay.
5.
5. Okay. Sam, over or under?
Yeah, that would have been my number that I would have guessed as well.
Interesting.
I'm going to say over.
Over is correct. Kevin Durant has 7 seasons of 40% or better from 3. Most recently, the last 2 seasons, he has been better than 40% from 3. So, all right. This one is fun. Sam Vecenie. James Harden.
I'm up 2-0, correct?
You were sorry. Yep. So nobody's got it on the dot yet. Sam has won both over unders. James Harden, consecutive seasons averaging 4 or more turnovers per game. This isn't total. This is how many consecutive seasons in his career has this happened. Would you like to guess or would you like
and
to
that
make
does
Andrew
not
guess?
count?
Huh?
That does not count this year.
We are not counting this year. None of this is including this season. None of these will include this season. Would you like to guess or would you like Andrew to guess?
I will let Andrew guess.
Okay, Andrew, to repeat, James Harden, consecutive, and this may or may not be currently active. Okay. I'm just saying in his career, he had a streak of consecutive seasons with 4 or more turnovers per game. How many seasons did that last?
So there's a chance this isn't an active streak, is what you're saying.
Potentially.
Okay. So just gonna talk this through.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the D'Antoni partnership was what initiated the streak, which was 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. 2020 is what's throwing me off because that's when they added Russ. So that's a second ball handler. That would be year 6. And then they traded him to Brooklyn the next year where he was a point guard, but he had other options. So I don't know if his usage was high enough for 4 turnovers a game. So I will say 5 in a row.
Okay. GMAC says 5. Sam Vecenie, would you like to go over or under 5 consecutive seasons of James Harden averaging 4 or more turnovers per game?
I'll go under.
GMAC on the board. It is 8 consecutive seasons from 14-15 through 21-22, spanning 3 different organizations.
So it did go to Brooklyn and then to Philly?
So the Brooklyn-Houston combined year, he averaged 4. The next year that was Brooklyn-Philly combined year, he averaged 4.4. He never averaged 4 solely in Philly. And then the number was actually way down last year with the Clippers, even though it's back up this season.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay.
Okay.
Andrew, Russell Westbrook. How many seasons total has Russell Westbrook averaged 9+ free throw attempts per game in his career?
Seasons total.
Yeah, so get rid of the consecutive. That was the only consecutive one that was kind of different. This is total seasons where he averaged 9 or more free throw attempts per game for the entire season. You can either guess or make Sam guess.
I'm going to make Sam guess.
Sam Vecenie, 9 or more free throw attempts per game.
I'll say 9.
Okay, 9 is the number for Sam Vecenie. GMAC, will you like to go over or under?
I'll say that's the number I was thinking, Sam. Good job. I will say under.
Under. We have a tie. Russell Westbrook seasons of 9+ free throw attempts, 2.
Really? Oh, we're way off.
Oh, wow.
So this idea came
that
from
actually stuns me.
Yeah. Was the LeBron James steals or blocks or whatever? Yeah. So this was one I thought was really interesting. So, okay, Sam, we're back to you. Steph Curry, seasons where he has averaged 7 or more assists per game. Would you like to guess or make Andrew guess? 7 or more assists per game.
1.
Over or under, Andrew?
Over.
Over is correct. Andrew takes the lead. The correct answer, you are on track, Sam, is 2.
I knew it wasn't many.
Yeah. Back-to-back seasons, 13-14, he averaged 8.5. 14-15, he averaged 7.7. The next highest year is 6.7.
So his first Curry year, though, his first MVP year.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, wow. So I was leaning Sam's direction with 1 because I thought it would have been under Jackson when he was largely running ISO. But oh, wow, that's interesting. That even under Kerr, man.
Okay. Next is DeMar DeRozan. Andrew, you'll start us off here. How many seasons has DeMar DeRozan made 50 3-pointers? So we're talking totals for this question. How many seasons has DeMar DeRozan made 50 or more 3-pointers?
I'm going to make Sam guess.
Sam, DeMar DeRozan, 50 3-pointers in a season.
3.
Andrew, over or under?
Again, the number I was thinking was 3, and I think it might be under, but I'll. Part of me thinks he nailed it. I will say. I'll say under.
Under is incorrect. We are tied again, 3-3.
50 is not a lot.
And he's only done
I know it isn't, but it's also DeMar DeRozan.
He's only done it 4 times. So
it's just over. Over. Okay.
So 17-18 was his most. He made 89 the last year in Toronto. He made exactly 50 his first year in Chicago.
All right, we're tied.
No, yeah,
we are tied. Okay. So we are back to Sam. We are on Chris Paul. Sam, Chris Paul seasons where he averaged 2 or more steals per game.
Ooh.
7.
Okay.
Over
or under, Andrew?
Under.
Correct answer. Over. Chris Paul has averaged 11 seasons of 2 or more steals per game. Our score is Andrew 3, Sam 4. Hitting one right on the button would be a good time
Big
for
game
that.
changer. Yeah.
Big game changer. We have 3 left. Damian Lillard, Andrew. Seasons of 4 or more rebounds per game in Damian Lillard's career.
Could you repeat the question? I just got breaking news that Karl Anthony Towns is questionable for tomorrow night.
Oh,
so
huge
I am listening. I knew it's a Dame Lillard question, but go ahead.
Damian Lillard, seasons with 4 or more rebounds per game.
That's not a lot.
He's
4
a
more
type-
rebounds for Dame.
I mean, he's only 6'2".
Right. That's why I'm wondering if it's like 1. I will take a guess here and say 2.
Okay. Sam Vecenie, over under.
I will say over.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 seasons.
Oh, so I was way off. Okay, never mind. Didn't think he was rebounding the ball that much.
He just
My
plays
bad,
so
Dame.
many minutes.
Yeah,
Like,
he's done it every year of his career after the first 2. So we have, interestingly enough, gone 2 for Sam, 3 for Andrew, 3 for Sam. So Sam is up 5-3. Andrew, you are still in the game. Really could use a point here. We are on Giannis Antetokounmpo. Seasons of 70% or better from the free throw line. Sam, this is your choice. You can guess or you can make Andrew guess. Giannis seasons of 70% or better from the free throw line.
so the problem is, there's a number I want to guess, but fuck, this is gross. 0.
Okay.
Ooh.
GMAC? You kind of only have one option. I assume
Right,
you have
well,
one.
yeah. So I under. He's average. No, I guess I'll take the over.
It is 6, actually, Sam.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, he actually, early in his career, he did it 5 years in a row. 74, 72, 77, 76, 73.
Really?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was going to guess 1 or 2 and you would have gone over anyway, but I thought it'd be funny if you just had put a 0 in there.
That would have been a good idea.
So I figured that was I
So
basically called my shot on that one. It was a bad strategic play. I'm aware of how stupid that was, but it was a bad strategic play.
So what's funny is, like, over the last 5 seasons, 63, 69, he had 172, 65, 66, and then he's at 60 this year. So recently not been good. A lot of the seasons were earlier in his career. Okay, we're going down to the last question. Anthony Davis, seasons averaging 2.5 blocks or more per game. Anthony Davis, 2.5 blocks or more per game. Andrew, you can guess, and if you hit it right on the nail, you would actually win the game. Or you can make Sam guess and then potentially tie based on his over-under decision. And I do have a tiebreaker question ready.
You have the game in your hands, Andrew. You have to.
I know. I'm thinking. I'm trying
Anthony
to. I know.
Davis, 2.5 blocks per game.
I'm going to say. I'm going to say 9.
Sam Vecenie?
Under.
The correct answer is 3. It is
Really?
under 3.
Never mind.
For what it's worth, I would have guessed, I think 5 if you would have
Okay.
made me guess the number.
2.5 was the answer.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, so well, he had 3 seasons. I mean, so in fairness to you, there's a 2.4, 2 point, like there's a whole bunch over 2, just not over 2.5. And actually 2 of those came in his 2 of his first 3 seasons he did this. The only time he has never done it in LA. All 3 seasons were with the Pelicans.
So I did know that there was a lot of 2s in his basketball
Yeah,
reference.
a
page.
whole bunch of 2s. Yeah.
And I think just not knowing if it was like how many of them were 2.5 is what threw me off. But
Yep.
yeah. All right. Good job, Sam.
All right. Sam wins 6-4. It's a little disappointed we didn't get any on the button, but nonetheless.
I'm a little disappointed by that too.
The trivia was going to be if you take out Giannis, who was drafted the latest out of those players? LeBron, KD, Harden, Russ, Steph, DeMar, Chris, Paul, Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis.
DeMar.
Everybody else is in the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody else is in the top 10 of that list, which I found fascinating as I went through this. Like top 10 active scorer total points. I mean, all top 10, 2 number 1 picks. I believe there's 2 number 4 picks. Giannis is the only one outside the top 9 of those guys.
And then Dame is what, 6th in that draft?
Steph was 7, Dame was 6.
Yeah.
You had Paul and Russ at 4, Harden 3, Durant 2, and then obviously LeBron and AD 1.
Again, not to make this too Knicks centric, but I know the Steph DeMar draft very well because it was the pick before and after the Knicks. And then shout out Jordan Hill.
Shout out Jordan Hill. My goodness.
Yeah.
Shout out
Sandwiched in
Johnny Flynn
between
and
2 of
Jordan
the
Hill.
highest point scorers that are active.
How
is the
many
Knicks pick that year.
points has Jordan Hill scored in his career? Yeah, 3,000 points in his career.
Over. Whatever the answer is. Over. Probably under, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Folks, Game Theory Podcast is done for the day. Andrew, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
You can find some very frustrated Knicks fans over at Knicks Film School. You could find all the poll clips from Game Theory here on the Game Theory YouTube channel. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We're on all the socials. Name a social network. We're probably there. Bluesky, Threads, X, Instagram, MySpace, Zanga, like you name it. We're probably there at Game Theory Sam V. And yeah, you can find me on all those places too. Again, very frustrated watching the Knicks.
Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work.
Hey, the kids don't know how cool MySpace was. Like that was legit. You went to the page and it started playing the people's favorite song. Like that. MySpace was really cool. It should have lasted.
The status symbol, Bryce, of oh my gosh, I'm in their top 8. Like we're actually good friends now. Oh my gosh.
Yes, MySpace was it. At Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, Pistons Pulse podcast. If you're a Pistons fan, got the Substack where you can look at game breakdowns, notes, analysis. Maybe your favorite team plays the Pistons. Go check it out and read because I leave notes about your team as well whenever those games happen. Otherwise, Game Theory podcast right here with the Sam Vecenie.
Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. Within the next couple of days, my top 100 prospects for the 2025 NBA draft will be debuting. I have a list of like 95 names. They are vaguely in order. Sort of, kind of. I'm going to write some thoughts today. If you have Bryce, any questions where a single player is ranked?
Rasheer Fleming.
Top 40 somewhere.
Love it. Anthony Roy.
Don't have him ranked. He's Green Bay. I'm aware. Yeah. I just, when I watch their game against Oklahoma State, because I again, like the way I do this is I try to wait until they play like a pretty decent, like good team. They played Oklahoma State early in the season.
Yes,
and I don't want to say I was like unimpressed, but I didn't quite get the vibe that he met the level, and he had like a lot of points in that game.
Yep.
I didn't quite get the vibe that he met the level necessary. I haven't watched the Providence game either, where he went like 17 points on 21 shots. It looks like with some turnovers. So, I'm not quite there on him. I would like to see more.
Got you.
Is where I'm at. Okay. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. We will be back. I don't know. Bryce and I will have to have a conversation about that because Thursday is Thanksgiving and we typically record on Thursdays. So we will figure out when we'll be back. Either today or tomorrow. I'm not sure of the day yet. I will do a post-game theory. Just not sure what that's going to look like, because basically within the next 2 days, I'm going to do a post-game theory and do the top 100 board, and I'll figure out how to manage my time in some respect within that. So keep it locked here. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, Game Theory Podcast with Sam Vecenie. Go subscribe to all of the many social platforms that GMAC is filtering us through. X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and TikTok is what that other one is. That's all we got. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.